Hi! Welcome to this part of my review featuring the Alien RPG core rulebook. If you haven't seen the other parts of this role-playing game featuring this popular sci-fi horror experience, please check out the playlist in the description below. This time we are going to talk about actions, initiative, close combat and ranged combat. Let's start with actions and initiative. When the enemy is revealed, stealth mode is over and actual combat starts. Stop counting turns and start counting rounds. The first step is to determine who has the initiative. You do this before anyone rolls dice for an action, except for sneak attacks. We will talk about those later on. When it comes to drawing the initiative, you grab 10 cards, numbered 1 through 10. In the custom card deck for the Alien role-playing game, there are 10 special initiative cards to use when drawing the initiative. If you do not have access to the custom card deck, you can use a normal deck of cards, with the ace counting as the 1. All the players taking part in the conflict, whether voluntarily or involuntarily, each draw a card and the game mother draws 1 card for every non-player character. This is called drawing the initiative. The number on the card determines the order in which you act in the conflict, lowest to highest. When all the participants in the combat have acted once, the round is over and a new round begins. The round order remains the same throughout the whole conflict. Drawing the initiative is only done once, at the start of the first round. Now, when it comes to changing the initiative, you never draw a new initiative card during a fight, but you can exchange your initiative card, and thus your initiative for the round, with another player character. This can be done at the start of the fight, or at the start of the round, but never during a round. You and the other player character must be able to speak to each other to exchange initiatives. Now, in typical conflicts, the game mother draws 1 initiative card per non-player character. If there are many non-player characters and the number of combatants is above 10, then the game mother splits the non-player characters into groups. Concerning slow and fast actions, when it is your time to act in the round, you can perform 1 slow action and 1 fast action, or 2 fast actions. A slow action usually consists of rolling for a skill. A fast action is quicker and doesn't always require rolling dice. You have a list in this rulebook explaining which actions are slow and which actions are fast. Now, when it comes to describing your actions, when it's your time to act, you simply state which 2 actions you wish to perform. You describe how you go about it, and roll dice to see if you are successful. Some actions will give your opponent the opportunity to perform a reactive action. Now let's talk about helping others. If you help another player character or non-player character perform an action, it costs you 1 action of the same kind, slow or fast. You have to state that you are helping someone before any dice are rolled. Helping others breaks the initiative order in the round. Now, concerning movement, running is to move during combat, spending a fast action to run from one zone to a neighboring zone, or between short and engaged range from an enemy or a player character in the same zone you are already in. No roll is required to run, unless it's into a cluttered zone. Concerning crawling, if you are prone, you can't run. Instead, you must crawl. Crawling works just like running, but it's a slow action. That means you can't crawl twice in the same round. In a cramped zone, crawling is the only movement possible. When it comes to close combat, if you have an active enemy at engaged range, you can't just walk away from them. Instead, you must retreat. Concerning doors and hatches, you can open an unlocked door or hatch with a fast action. A locked door or hatch can be broken down. A typical metal door or hatch can take 10 points of damage before it gives in. More sturdy doors require more force and also have an armor rating. In some cases, you can open an electronically locked door or hatch with a Comtech roll. And concerning vehicle movement, we will talk about that later on, in a future part of this review. Concerning ambushes and sneak attacks, the key to winning a conflict is often attacking when your enemy least expects it. You can achieve this in several ways. When you stalk someone and your attack catches them unaware, it's called a sneak attack. First, you roll your mobility versus your target's observation. you get a modification depending on how close you want to go. You have a table explaining this. If you want to attack in close combat, you usually have to move to within engaged range of your enemy. If you fail, your opponent spots you at your starting distance, so now you need to draw initiative. If you succeed, you get a free action, slow or fast, but not both, before you draw the initiative. Your target cannot block a sneak attack. Sneak attacks are always done individually, by one attacker against one target. When it comes to an ambush, a special kind of sneak attack is an ambush. You lie in wait for your enemy and attack them when they get close. When you ambush someone, you roll mobility, as described earlier, but with a modification of +2, since it is the target and not the attacker that is moving. Ambushes can be carried out by a group and against a group of targets. This follows the usual rules for stealth. The character with the lowest mobility skill level rolls for the attackers, while the target with the highest observation skill level rolls for the targets. Now let's talk about close combat. When you attack someone with your bare fists or a melee weapon, you use the close combat skill. Close combat usually happens at engaged range from your target. You can fight unarmed or use a weapon. Drawing a melee weapon from its sheath or a belt is a fast action. To attack an opponent in close combat, you need to be standing on your feet. If you are prone, you must first spend a fast action to get up before you can attack. While you are prone, standing enemies get a +2 modification on all close combat attacks against you. Now when it comes to resolution, if your close combat roll is successful, your attack hits and you inflict damage equal to the weapon's damage rating on your opponent. Damage may be mitigated by armor. And of course, you can carry out stunts to inflict extra damage, outmaneuver your enemy, try to disarm your opponent, etc. When it comes to blocking, if you are attacked in close combat, you can choose to block the attack to avoid being hit. Blocking is a fast action, and you roll for close combat. You must declare that you are going to block before the attacker rolls for their strike. For each 6 that you roll, you choose an effect. For example, you could decrease the damage, you could counter-attack, or try to disarm your enemy. A couple of important things to keep in mind is that blocking is a reaction that breaks the normal initiative order, and you can only block unarmed attacks if you are unarmed. That is, human unarmed attacks. If you try to block the attack of a xenomorph with your forearm, well, you're going to lose that arm probably, if you are lucky. Now, when it comes to shoving as a fast action, you can try to shove an opponent at engaged range away from you. This is done with a close combat roll. The game modder can modify your roll for certain opponents. If you succeed, your opponent is shoved away to a short range from you. When it comes to grappling, if you grapple your opponent as a stunt in close combat, both you and your opponent fall to the ground. The opponent drops any weapon they were holding and cannot move. The only action they can perform is an attempt to break free, which is a slow action that succeeds if the opponent wins an opposed close combat roll against you. While you are grappling, the only action you can perform, apart from releasing your opponent, is a grapple attack. This works as a normal unarmed attack, but is a fast action and cannot be blocked. These grappling rules are modified when it comes to xenomorphs, and we will talk about that in a future part of this review. It's also important to note that non-player characters usually do not block attacks, unless it's dramatically appropriate. Concerning retreat, if you have an active enemy at engaged range, you must make a mobility roll to move away to short range from them. If you fail, you still move, but your enemy gets a free close combat attack against you. The free attack doesn't count toward their actions in the round, and you can't block it. Now, when it comes to ranged combat, when you shoot at someone from a distance, you handle this differently. You have to roll for ranged combat. You need to be able to see your target. You also need a ranged weapon, even if it's simply something to throw. The weapons table describes a variety of firearms and ranged weapons that you can use. To draw a gun from a belt or holster, or a rifle from its sling, this is a fast action. Firing a weapon is a slow action. If you take your time to aim carefully before squeezing the trigger, you get a bonus to your attack roll. Aiming is a fast action. If you do anything else except shoot your weapon after you have aimed, or if you are hurt, you lose the effect of the aim, and you need to spend another fast action to aim again. Concerning range, the weapon's table indicates the range of each weapon. That is the maximum range category at which the weapon can be used. Depending on how far away your enemy is from you, you get a penalty. And you also get a penalty when you attack an opponent that is engaged with you, that is at engaged range with a ranged weapon, because it's difficult to draw a weapon on someone that is about to jump you. You don't get this penalty if you fire at a defenseless or unwitting enemy. Instead, you actually get a bonus. When it comes to target size, it's easier to shoot at larger targets, but smaller targets actually apply a penalty to your shot. So good luck shooting those chest bursters or face huggers. Now, when it comes to resolution, if your attack hits, you inflict damage equal to the weapon's damage rating. For every extra 6 you roll, you choose a stunt. Maybe you want to inflict additional damage. Perhaps you want to position yourself and get to exchange your initiative score with your enemy, taking effect next round. You can't go back to your earlier initiative if you do this. And there is other minutiae. For example, you could fire using full auto fire, which gives you a bonus, but your stress level immediately increases by 1. You can also take cover. Depending on the sturdiness of the cover, you can get protection from any attack that you receive. Now, concerning ammo, most firearms in the world of Alien have large enough magazines that you don't need to worry about counting individual bullets. However, when the tension rises, you risk wasting ammo and emptying your clip at the worst possible time. This is simulated in the following way. Whenever you fire a weapon and roll 1 or more ones or facehugger symbols on your stress dice, you have emptied your magazine after the attack and need to reload. Reloading is a slow action. You need to keep track of how many full reloads of ammunition you carry for your weapon. You also need to make a panic roll, and we will talk about those in a future part of this review. Now, concerning Overwatch, as a fast action, you can assume an Overwatch position in a specified direction, as long as you have a ranged weapon and no enemies within engaged range. This means that you aim in the specified direction and are ready to shoot. Between the time you assume the Overwatch position and your time to act in the next round, you can fire your weapon against a target in the chosen direction. You can fire whenever you want in the turn order, and your shot is resolved before all other actions, even if they are already declared. Firing when in Overwatch position counts as a normal attack, a slow action. Therefore, you must save your slow action in the round for any Overwatch attack you want to make. If both you and an enemy assume Overwatch positions against each other, and both choose to fire against each other, then an opposed range combat roll determines which attack goes first. This roll does not count as an action for either of you. You keep your Overwatch position as long as you do nothing but shoot in the chosen direction. If you perform any other action, the Overwatch position is lost. It is also immediately lost if you are attacked in close combat or if you suffer damage. And this concludes this part of the review. In the next part, we are going to talk about damage, stress and panic and other details. As you can see, the rules are a good mix of realism and cinematic effects. You do have that chance of being somewhat heroic, but characters in this game are not particularly sturdy. Unless they are the xenomorphs, humans are quite squishy and vulnerable, respecting the feel, the theme, the style of the Alien comic books, video games, movies. So it's a perfect representation, in my opinion, when it comes to combat in this dark sci-fi universe. Thank you for watching this part of the review. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that have been supporting the channel by sending drive-thru RPG gift certificates. If anyone else wants to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you, and see you later.